Hi everybody, I'm Zan Kavanaugh with I See Evolution, a new paradigm contribution.
It requires the dark night of the soul, which means you have to almost become naked to who you really are and what your calling is, instead of what you've been conditioned to do and what others want you to do.
Simple as that, you know. People are seeking every self-reliance, and they're seeking food that's not loaded with chemicals and additives and colorants and preservatives and all that kind of stuff.
The answers don't come with degrees. It comes through community building and connection and collaboration, and in our culture we're taught to compete against one another and to hoard information away, and it's built on fear and scarcity. So that's what inspired us to do this dream.
Let's plant some sunflowers. And what I observed just by that little bit of nature in the middle of the city was, look at that, one seed creates thousands of seeds. And yet people are starving. How can that be?
Total allowance, and you bow down in reverence to Mother Nature and all of her power. And it's quite humbling in that regard. I have learned more about life from the farm than any day or year or degree has ever taught me.
And so many things that you, in this modern world, that you think you might be able to do to change your life, usually cost a lot of money. You know, there's always somebody trying to sell you some particular gadget or whatever. You know, you have to move house even to do it maybe, but not with aquaponics. You know, we see people do it in their apartment, on a balcony. You can grow a few lettuce, or you can grow some tomatoes. You know, you can do all sorts of things with it, and so very easily. You can do it at any level. It's perfectly scalable. You know, we have the technology being used in large farms. So from smallest to largest, you can do it.
Well, you know, we're well known for aquaponics, right? That's kind of been our flagship project. But I have a lot of interest in alternative energies, and you know, our four cornerstones are health and well-being, food, water, and energy.
Because this isn't just about our lifestyle as it pertains to a countryside lifestyle. It's going to pertain to the highly populated cities as well. And how do we work with them to find solutions? So for people who want to step into these boots or want to try and take a step towards that direction, you just have to look at your own lifestyle and figure out what you need to sustain and live, and figure out how can I make those more sustainable so that I'm actually not taking and moreover giving back.
It might be time for you to really shift and think intentionally, not only for you and your family, but how you can support local business and everybody to take the power back, really.
Yeah. You know, a point that I wanted to make along those lines is that it is that realization of bringing it back and to take yourself out of the norm, because that full case of meat at the grocery store or that full case of fish, often in order to get that full case, they've defrosted a lot of those products, and it's actually not really fresh products all the way throughout. It's a bunch of defrosted products, and then there's a smaller shelf life to those products, and really our food waste is much higher.
Whereas if you're just buying from the neighbor on the street, it's just a person and a piece of land. And the backdrop or the backstory that comes together to produce that one simple piece of fruit is so simple. And the impact on the earth, on the environment, on the culture of the people, is so much less than the impact of this mass global food economy that has on the environment and the people and the culture.
It's time for us to collaborate in a way that supports us. We need to stand up and work together to come up with our solutions together.
You know, the small family farm, that's the one we want to see come back, and we want to see that respected. That's what I believe. Where, you know, and that also, interestingly enough, develops a community.
The thing about aquaponics, it has really been a community teacher for me, because you see how you participate in an ecosystem. This is a closed loop system where you have your fish, you have your water, you have your plants, and you have your microbes. And you're working in balance with one another.
We're trying to be free in a different way here. We're trying to produce our own food. We don't want to, rely on society, and we want to ultimately create our, it's about manifesting our own lives.
It's more than just agriculture. It's about living and solar and off-grid and everything else, and then do the aquaponics. I do permaculture, then aquaponics, and then you're good to go. You got your basics. And get your MacGyver skills. Become a jack of all trades. Find a maker in your town.
I think of maybe a commune as more of a seclusion, let's get away from society. This is more, let's get away to give back to society, because that's really what our purpose here is to do, is to share everything that we have here, open source everything.
There's just so much out there that we can all bring to the table if we're just giving ourselves a good education in it.
Yeah.
So programming like this is important because people are, we know something isn't right? And we need to have a place to talk about that and try on new ideas. It helps people to not feel alone in having these thoughts of change or of progress. It helps to unite people, right? And help them to find places where they can gather and share in the common messages.
My goal is to really share with everybody, like I want to work, I want to help, I want to understand, and then I want to be able to capture that to share with people, because it's one thing to say it, but I love what you were talking about, which is, mortality on the farm. It's one thing to go to a grocery store and buy your chickens, but it's another thing to really coddle and see them grow up and then nurture them and then get their eggs. And that's a whole nother perspective and a view where we're moving as a culture and a society. And there's so many people that are, I think, afraid of that. And yet at the same time, there's a lot of people that are excited about it. So I'll go as long as I need to, quite frankly, until, it gets to a space where perhaps I want to settle down with the community, but I love sharing the story and talking with people and connecting people. And so we all have unique talents and abilities. So it's how do we serve the greater good? And that's really the intention. I'm Zan Kavanaugh.